All right, so we're going to go a little bit of a different direction here. So normally we talk a lot about e-commerce directly, people that are in e-commerce or people that are subject matter experts in e-commerce, some field of e-commerce and how, their expertise you might be able to apply to their business. But we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at someone who, or someone's, I should say, who I would say are experts in a component of the e-commerce business, especially if you're looking to expand into Europe. But we're going to talk a little bit more about their backstory in entrepreneurship. I've got the founders and business partners of Avask Accounting, as well as the authors of the online hustle for e-commerce. Super excited to have with me here my good friends Melanie Shabangu and Dr. Angelos Katsaris from Avask Accounting. So thank you for coming on, both of you.
Thank you, Kevin. Always lovely to see you and be here with you.
Yes. It's great to have you. And Angelos, thank you for coming on as well.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Kevin, and it's a pleasure to actually explore and how we started this journey and where we are with things and how we're going to progress, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes, it's good just to talk to other business owners who maybe aren't in the exact same field we're in, but you guys have that unique standpoint of understanding the challenges that e-commerce business owners go through, because you see it in I would say dollars and cents standpoint, but I guess it's more of a pounds and pence standpoint of understanding, what people are going through in the e-commerce world. But at the same time, too, you built quite the business empire for yourselves in the ever so exciting world of taxes and value-added taxes. And so what made you decide to get into the world of tax?
Right. Well, the story dates back from when we started this journey. We were on predominantly, I would say, focused on property tax, because during that time there was a huge numbers of foreign investors investing here in the UK, in London in particular, in properties, and of course. London is one of the biggest cities in the world, whereby we're receiving an unprecedented numbers of people requiring personal tax services because they were expats. And that's where we started.
Got it. So you were starting with property taxes, and that sounds like a whole different animal than value-added taxes, which value-added taxes is essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm oversimplifying it here, but it's kind of like what sales tax is in the US. It's on a different chassis.
Absolutely. It is a different kettle of fish.
Right.
Now, it's, who would have thought actually tax is exciting? I find tax in general, very, very exciting subject to talk about. Property tax was fun. I loved it. I also dealt with corporation tax. I dealt with personal taxes, and I'm still doing the same now. The amount of indirect tax, which is VAT, was literally at about 10% of our business. But now it's basically the 60% of our business. So things changed, and property tax is now 5% of the business that we do, just because the tax requirements, they are so much different. So you've got to find tax advisors with that different specialism. But how we stumbled in the whole thing was, I remember our first client actually was from Hong Kong. They are still with us now. From there, they introduced us into the whole thing of them helping us with their expanding online. They're actually one of the biggest online brand for clothing. I think they're very much well known. They're still going now. They're basically all over the world. You find them located all over the world. So those are the ones that basically brought us into this whole world of indirect tax, VAT. And then from there, things just snowballed. And, we putting all the successes to Amazon, where we first met the UK global selling team that is based out in London. And from there, transferred over into Seattle. And I would say by end of the first year of meeting Amazon, we had more than 200 clients in our portfolio. And those were mainly located in America. Mm-hmm. The rest is history.
Okay, gotcha. So to help give people a little bit of context, I don't remember if I said this before, but you all are, or I'm a client of Avask, and so you guys do my VAT filings. And so let's just go back to and unpack a little bit more of when you first got started into the VAT, especially for sellers that are outside of the country. So it sounds like you were already kind of empathetic to people that are outside of the UK, especially the property tax. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I remember correctly, are either of you from the United Kingdom originally, or?
Yeah. So we met in the UK.
So the two of you met in the UK, and just to clear this up, you're not just business partners, but you're also life partners, so to speak, too, right?
We are life partners. So Angelos was studying his PhD, and I was, of course, an employee doing my 9 to 5.
Okay.
And he was also doing some projects with the European Union. He can talk for himself, he's here. But it was with the view that because he had already started traveling, and my 9 to 5 job wasn't going to be able to cater for my traveling into Sweden, Germany, Poland, and wherever we were traveling, where he was traveling to at that time. Mm-hmm. And whilst doing his PhD, he was also posted into Europe, into Poland in particular, and that's when we decided that I need something that I'm going to be able to be traveling with, something that's going to be more mobile, and that's where it started. I don't know, Angelos, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more or less the journey basically started where we decided that we had to find a way to assist, to give more back on what we were passionate in. And I think being in the EU and the European Commission with projects, and Mel being focused on the accounting aspects, we just thought it is time that we actually combine our strengths and also dedicate ourselves in something that will give back to sellers, to entrepreneurs. Because I still remember that Saturday that we had to go to that mall and actually issue our first business cards through a business card machine, actually.
Okay.
Whereby you had to type your name and the company's name, the profession that the title that you had to have on the business card. Uh-huh. And it came, when you type and the first business cards are popping out, it's actually really exciting. So we just thought, okay, now we're getting really serious here. That was the very, very first days back in 2012. So that's it was really interesting and very, very lovely moments. But I would say since then, our goal is to make sure that anybody who is to embrace entrepreneurship is someone that we definitely want to work with. And it's all about empowerment and assisting. It's being part of their journey and making sure that, if we can do our little bit and remove all the admin burden, or in any way, we can advise or anything else, that is something that, it's satisfying even today when we even give a consultation for someone who wants to expand in 1 or 2 or whatever, in many other countries.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, people have heard me preach on this before, that, expanding into whether it be Europe, Canada, wherever internationally is one of the best ways to expand your business, especially if you're selling on Amazon, because, if people are buying a product in Amazon in the US and they're buying similar products in the UK or Canada or Germany or wherever, and you're not selling there, chances are you're leaving a decent amount of money on the table. So let's just go back to a moment. You said that there was a Hong Kong based apparel company that approached you about that.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were totally just doing property taxes at the time, right?
Yeah. Yes,
So,
we were doing property taxes and also the accounting side of the brick and mortar industry. We had consultants in our books. We had the construction industry. We had a few restaurants, which was just telling now any accountants out there, they'll tell you about, honestly, if you go into the restaurant industry, it's one of the most difficult one in accounting, because you're counting pennies, you're capitalizing forks and knives.
right. Yes, I was a restaurant manager earlier in my career. I know that the restaurant industry is a tough one, more so than what people probably realize when they go to a restaurant. They say, "Oh, it's full restaurant. They must be profitable at making money hand over foot." It's like servers might be making more money than the owners sometimes. But what's interesting is, so you were approached by this Hong Kong seller, and you saw some opportunity there. So I don't mean this disrespectful to accountants, but this is something accountants have told me throughout the years, is that accountants, this is I'm paraphrasing what accountants have told me, including my own CPA here in the US who does my income taxes, is that accountants are good historians. They're good at looking back at numbers and, submitting some sort of picture to the government of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Admittedly, accountants are not always good at finding the opportunity for, exactly, the future. So how were you able to see, like, okay, there's an opportunity here to help e-commerce sellers? I think today it seems like, at least for people listening to this, at least maybe because I've been in the world so much of this, but people ask me more questions in general about e-commerce than they did a few years ago. It just seems more of like a normal thing people are going through. But it seemed less of like even 5-10 years ago, less of a quote unquote legitimate business. So how did you say this looks like an opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, we just gave it that start with Angelos' knowledge on Europe, how Europe operates, with my expertise and knowledge on how to read tax law and the legislation that is there. We were able to navigate and help that first client and get the registration. That first registration in Germany and France. Forget about the UK, because the UK, that is home for us. We understand the law. We understand the changes. But it's those languages. Angelo speaks a few languages, except for German, of course. But we were able to communicate with the French tax authorities without any problem. We communicated with the German tax authorities without a problem. Before we know it, we had about 5 e-commerce clients in our books. And from then onwards, it's who you know as well. And I think that works to your advantage. That's that first individual within Amazon who was talking about global expansion. It's the one that saw us really welcoming the opportunity to work with Amazon with expanding sellers into Europe. And we were one of the very first ones to expand sellers into Europe. One of our competitors has been acquired now some years ago. They came in after us, but we're one of the first ones really to expand sellers into Europe, and the first ones to work with Amazon on global expansion. I remember that first trip out to Seattle, where we went to do training with the global selling team on how VAT works, how Europe is structured, the population.
Oh, God. So you were going there to train them. Like, this is how it works.
Correct.
So that they understood it. Okay, got it.
So that they understood, and because they were onboarding sellers that were coming from the US into Europe, the sellers wanted to know, because they were taking, the big sellers. Those were the ones that were onboarded. And so, any entrepreneur will tell you, telling me now, Kevin, that I must sell in Australia. Why should I sell in Australia? What is there in Australia? And they had to start from zero to onboard those sellers. Now, those numbers, and I will tell you now, if they came through, the first flood came in during the year of 2013 on the global e-commerce side or the expansion team of Amazon. And of course, Angelos was very much instrumental in doing research because, of course, he's a PhD graduate then. So he knew everything about e-commerce. He could talk to them and the population and all the figures in here. He knows all the maps of the world. If you tell him which countries this map, he'll tell you it's one of the boring individuals on the planet. I can tell you now.
I think that's a good skill to have. Geography is underrated. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and from there, from that trip going into Seattle, and us organizing an event out of nowhere in LA, getting Amazon staff to come in and support us, whereby we had about, I think it was about over 70 e-commerce sellers in LA, whereby we were telling them about Europe. What are the opportunities that are available in Europe? There was only the 5 marketplaces that. So it wasn't like what it is today, where we're seeing more and more countries opening up. So for us, I would say that's 2014, 15 is what made us. That event that we held in LA, it was a huge door opener for Avask, and we never dreamt in a million years that the firm would grow as at the level that it is now, whereby it's supporting many families. We have got, including our global network, is about 620 odd staff. We've got more than 100 that are based here in the UK office. Recently acquired did an acquisition on a company out in New York in White Plains, a CPA firm.
That's in the UK, right?
That is in New York.
Oh, New York. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I thought you said York, so misunderstood.
Yeah, no, in New York, in White Plains. So I mean, we've seriously just snowballed, and we've just gone for it. I mean, we get a shock. Ourselves and what we've achieved in this space of time.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So, just to give people a little context, how many e-commerce clients do you have right now, roughly, if you don't mind sharing?
So the number of e-commerce sellers, we've got just over 10,000 of them in our books. And I could say that at least 6,000 came in the last 18 to 24 months. Oh, wow. When we were doing the Amazon promotion, so the Pan-EU program, we're working with Amazon on that. We've recently joined the Amazon Visa program, which is another project that we're doing with onboarding sellers and working very closely with Amazon. We've got also another new department. I'm sort of like way ahead of your questions maybe that you had, but we've pivoted a lot with COVID. COVID has been a horrific time for many people, but I would say for us, we have found a reason to pivot, to be proactive, and just go out there and support as much people or sellers as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe just to touch on something that we mentioned earlier, because I think the word pivot and research is really critical. They're really critical keywords, especially in the e-commerce world. So back in 2013, what we have discovered is that when situated in the south of England, the accountancy world is so much crammed. There's so much competition, and it was almost like there were about 10 accountancy firms in per mile, especially in areas like Southampton, Winchester. There's so many, bookkeepers, freelancers, and the services are so much overlapping that it is unavoidable for someone to thrive in such an environment whereby there's such harsh competition. So the pivot moment was that if we were to sustain ourselves in this market, we need to be different. We have to do something different. We can't just maintain the same game of approaching a client, probably offering a little bit lesser than the competitors, and gain more and more clients. I think it's something that is a race to the bottom mindset, and we felt like this was not going to be the right moment. So we found that being able to offer the services internationally instead of you approaching the client locally, it is those sellers who want to invest in the country is where we actually found that that would be of much more interest. And this started initially also with sellers who wanted individuals who wanted to invest in the UK because there were a lot of visa obtaining schemes for any individuals who wanted to have a British passport and proceed with their business ventures in the UK. So as we were drafting business plans and assisting them in the from an accounting point of view, of course, it was that key moment whereby we thought this is where we actually need to pivot. We need to assist those who are actually coming into the country instead of us offering the service to those who are already in the country. And it's this light bulb moment whereby you just need to pick up what's happening around you and see where things could go, more or less.
That's great. That's great. And I think there's a lot of things that just picked out there that sound just like things that people say in the e-commerce world, but just with slightly different terminology. So, it comes back to a lot of this stuff is really, it's not, what's the latest tactic and hack on Amazon, but like, what are key business principles? And kind of like what you were saying there was that, there's all these accountancy firms all over the place doing local taxes. And that is as you just said, a race to the bottom, which when you're in a commodity, everyone's just trying to not one up, but I guess one down the competition and be a little bit cheaper or add just a little bit extra value or whatever. So they're whether they're watering down their services or they're watering down their price, it's heading downwards. But you were able to find that there was an opportunity in the market to differentiate and serve people looking to come into the country, because once you become kind of known for that, people come to you. So let's talk a little bit about these clients that are coming to you. So you've seen quite a bit of people, and I know you're starting to, Melanie, talk a little bit about the pivoting because of COVID. And I'm sure you guys have had to pivot for COVID, your clients have had to pivot for COVID, but just in general, without even necessarily getting into COVID, if you've got 10,000 e-commerce clients, you probably see quite a bit of what's working, what's not working, especially with Europe, because now we can maybe talk a little bit more on the e-com side of the observations you're getting, because literally, as I was saying before, you're seeing it like on, for lack of a better term, like a balance sheet. Yeah.
So from our side, it's somebody said to us, you guys, you are gold dust. Now, I didn't understand what they meant by that. And the reason why they said that is that you guys see so many different types of businesses or entrepreneurs or products, financials. Literally, it's like the stock exchange.
Right.
But do you know, our clients, we all treat them the same. And what we stand for as a company, and from day one, it was the point that how could we differentiate ourselves now that we are moving into a different segment or world? We just had to be proactive. We had to be customer centric. We were working with one of the best companies in the world, or the best companies in the world. So we had to adopt everything that they had. We looked at Jeff Bezos' success and we thought, how could we will never be the size of Amazon, but how could we have that 1% at the same time embodying and taking all the values of what great companies out there have, and made customer service to be in the center of what we wanted to be? And Angelos, he's talking back about research. There's so much stories, to be honest, to our history. He's talking about research. He did this research. I remember when he came in and showed me and presented to me that, did you know that in each and every mile where you are, there is an accountancy firm? How are you going to scale this and be different? How are you going to be different? And I take this with e-commerce sellers as well. There's so many people that are selling the same products out there, but how are you going to package your product to be different than Kevin's product? Even though when you open the box, everything is the same. How are you going to make your product to look attractive? Your listings online, how are they going to be different than Kevin's? So for me, that's exactly what we did. If you looking at our service and looking at a product, it's the same thing. How do you package yourself in such a way that you could reach out to people? Now, for our clients, and of course, we can't tell you as to who's doing best, who's not, because of the agreements and non-disclosures that we have. We can't share that information. But I can tell you now that there are some industries that are doing extremely well. There are some industries that are not doing so well. You know, somebody wanted to put me in their webinar a few months ago to talk about how great e-commerce is doing at the moment. And I can tell you now, it is doing very well. But let's not forget that there is those entrepreneurs that are not doing as well as that guy that's taken their business from maybe 10 million turnover before, or sales before COVID. They are now on about 40, 50 million. There is somebody whose business went bust during COVID. Let's not forget that.
Yes.
Now, and now we have to look at the points that, okay, if my business is not doing well, what is it that I have to be looking at? Should I be looking at maybe changing the product? Should I now look at repackaging my product? I've got this tiny Versace perfume. Can you see it?
Okay, yeah. So for those listening who can't see it, you're holding up a perfume bottle right now.
Right. So I'm holding this perfume bottle. You think about it. Why does it smell differently than that other cheap perfume out there? Why would I go for this? It was a present. I can't afford it. It's tiny.
Yes, that Versace stuff is expensive, isn't it?
Do you know, I would buy, it's honestly, Kevin, it's so tiny. I don't know how much it was worth, but I would buy this. And the reason why I would buy, the design is a killer. You know, if you had to take another one, which is Lime Bay, I've got loads of perfumes on my desk. So this is another one. So if you look at the difference.
Oh yeah, so the other one is much bigger. Yeah.
Exactly. For me, if you look at this one, it looks a bit cheap, and this one looks expensive, but it's smaller. And it's exactly like how you need to package your business. For those people that haven't been doing well, it's about them coming back and say, it's not about masks selling well, because I hear that they're selling masks. Other people, they are doing logoed masks now for companies. So how will my masks look like? Should I go now into the factory and say, I want my mask to be redesigned so that it's just not always the blue mask, these ones that are causing a lot of damage
everywhere.
to the
You see
ocean.
the blue mask.
Right.
Yeah.
So this one is one of the worst ones because it causes so much damage to the ocean and the sharks and all that. They are swallowing all this climate change stuff.
Right.
So it's repackaging yourself and just putting something that is totally different.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Whenever there's challenges and things are changing, it's one of those things that I think it was Tony Robbins said, don't look at the world how you want the world to be. Look at the world as it is. Not better than it is or worse than it is, but how it is. And so you can't control what's happening around you. Sometimes I think I've been guilty of it, trying to understand everything that's going on. You don't need to understand everything that's going on. You just need to control, like, what is that next step you need to take? And so, like, if you're selling travel pillows, for example, I've used this example before, maybe that's not going to recover right away. And so maybe you need to find another product that is going. And maybe masks might be a tough one to jump into at the moment because all of a sudden hot products tend to get a lot of competition. But there could be other little niches. Like, I know a lot of people that have done very well with some random products, and I'm not going to go into specifics on those products just for my own kind of NDA type of things, but things that people are doing around their house. Yeah. Like, people are investing, if they're spending more time at home because they're now working from home, or they, are kind of in between jobs, or whatever the case is, they want their home to be nice, and they're investing in shower heads or whatever it is, So if you have something that gives people something to do at home or to improve their home, that might be a direction to go in.
Absolutely. And when we talk about Amazon, we'll always think about products, goods, this, that. How about a service? How about you using your skill? Let's say you are fantastic in photography. Why don't you reach out to people and start doing product photography? You are very good in translations. Why don't you reach out and see if you could? There is so much, just the ecosystem of online or e-commerce. It is absolutely huge. There's some people that are sort of like they've had business exits, and I've seen the highest number of them. The guys that have been successful in the past few months. Honestly, Kevin, it's one of the most exciting things. One day you're going to sell, you're going to come to me and feel very, very bad that, oh, Melanie, I am selling. Do you know, that's what I stand for? That's what we stand for. If you're going to be selling your business because your business has come from here to here, absolutely fantastic. Let's go for it. Let's celebrate your success. You worked incredibly hard on that success. Now, what are you going to do next? Are you going to try and do cross-pollination and start training other people about the hard work that you've put in, the skills that you've learned throughout your journey, and make somebody else successful? I know that there's a lot of these Amazon gurus, so people say, but, some of these guys, they're just not gurus. They know their stuff.
Right.
If you can gain some value out of those gurus, then go for it. I'll sign up any day. So
yeah. So that's interesting there. Like, you have a lot of good points there about, differentiating yourself, creating a brand, understanding the vision of kind of where you're going in it, because there's the world is going more and more to e-commerce. And so I'm curious, one thing I've heard people say over the years is there's kind of been this debate of, just go all in on Amazon.com. Don't worry about international channels because it's just a waste of time. Do you think people should wait until they're a certain size to go into Europe, or, go in relatively early in their career? And why is that?
Yeah. So maybe I'm going to start, take it from Angelos. So Angelos was doing business plans for people earlier on as well. When we first started, he was doing all the whole research. If you're looking to invest into the UK and bring your family here, so he'll do an A to Z business plan and give you a proper research as far as like what your clients are going to look like, where are you going to be located, your sales per annum, the projections of your business. Now, I would turn around. I don't know, did you want to tackle this one first, Angelos? Maybe I come after you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
no, I think in terms of like when you are to expand internationally, I think the main thing that every seller should keep in mind is that I'm having my business to be a global firm, to be a global brand. Otherwise, it's better, if someone is to be limiting, himself into the local sphere of their own country. I think it's something that is good for a few months. But if I would say it is critical for every seller to consider that my business is a global brand, is in the process of being a global brand, and is in the making of being a global success. And I strongly believe in that, because that mindset is essential for every seller to start putting in place also all these procedures and all these policies and strategies and plans and reviews and individuals and resources to be able to reach up to that goal. I know resources initially may be a limitation, and we all understand cash flow and being commercial and all the rest of it. But I would strongly say that initially, as we say, even in the online hustle, that do your market research and understand your finances is essential. At the same time, do not limit yourself to be like a master in your hometown. Just be a leader in the global stage instead. That's how I would put it.
But also just to add there, from an accounting point of view, personally, if you ask me, where should I start? I'm now successful in the US, or I'm starting to launch in the US. When should I exactly be looking at expanding into global markets? I'll echo Angelos from the point that from the initial stages, when you first set out your business, have that mindset. And I can tell you now, Kevin, people that are joining this e-commerce journey in 2020, 2021, they are in a better position than you did 5 years ago, because the information is more available now. We are here talking honestly, 2013, 2014, this would have been a gold mine. Now, this information, people are getting it for free. It's actually more available now on YouTube than it has always been in the past. So I would say stay focused on growing the local brand first from a money point of view. So you want to be careful that you don't take your life savings and put them into products for 20, 30,000 that are not going to sell in that hometown or in that country. So focus on making sure that the business works here at home first. Now, if you ask me, Amazon, when they're first doing their launches, they were looking at the first sellers that we launched. It was the guys that were doing more than 5 million in the US. They started with the 5 million guys. They went down into the 3 millions. They went down into the 2 millions. Those are the ones that were headhunted, the sellers of businesses that were headhunted. It was the best of the Amazons. We launched one client, I remember, that just gone into Kickstarter. I'm not going to say the name, even though they wouldn't mind me saying it, because they've become part of the Avask family. But they launched under Kickstarter. They did so well. They actually broke the record on Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
We launched them here in Europe. Literally, we had to find a fulfillment center for them, a warehouse storage that they were distributing more than 50 million products from the UK operations. It was absolutely insane. So That's what the focus was on, the big sellers. And then we've seen in recent years, I would say anybody can launch into global markets. But for me, my advice, if I was your accountant, say in America, and you came to me and told me that you're looking to launch in Europe and your sales were about 500,000, I love the millions because I'm an accountant. I love the figures. So I would turn around and say, maybe let's get to 1 million first here at home and make sure that you've got the confidence, you know what you're doing, you understand e-commerce here at home first. And then once you've reached that 1 million, then we can look at expanding in international markets. Now, expanding outside the USA, for instance, there's a lot of things that you need to consider. There's going to be your taxes, the language that is there, the fact that we're saying it's Europe. I think people automatically think that, oh, Europe speak English. No, we don't all speak English. It's only Britain that speaks English. You've got Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Norway, and all the other countries across Europe. So you need to be careful that you understand what is it that you need to do. And I would turn around and say, especially now in 2021, have a tick list as to what are the things that you need to look out for. And I'm not advertising the online hustle, but I am advertising it for people that didn't know about it, because I don't know, Kevin, you're going to tell me I haven't seen your review online, but I do want the truth. On this book guides you on what you need to do.
I did say it was a must-read book in my. I actually have it pulled up, my review on Amazon. So in full disclosure, I did review it on Amazon, although I think it might be in my wife's name. But I will say this, and I'll help you guys out here and plug a little bit of a commercial. So I don't even think people need to wait all the way to the 1 million mark to start expanding internationally. Like, I think, like, as you said, like, you can be a smaller seller, and really all it is proportionality. So when you're starting to look at, like, what are the places you could go to expand? Well, Amazon.com is going to be your number one.
Yeah.
I don't know of many people who it's not. But then you start looking into, okay, should I spend my time trying to figure out Etsy or eBay or build my own Shopify store or go into Canada or go into the UK?
Yeah.
You're going to find Canada and the UK each will probably, for a lot of sellers, exceed what they do in all these other non-Amazon channels.
Very
if
true.
you already understand Amazon, it's not that much to go to it. Now, one thing I've had pushback on from some savvy buyers, and this might be just their philosophy, we'll say, is they'll say, well, when I'm looking to buy a business, I'm looking for what are the businesses I can, add value to right away. And one of the things they'll say sometimes is, I want to be able to add the international channels. So just think about that for a second.
Yes.
If they're going to come in and buy your business, and that's going to be their first stop to add value to the business, if you're not looking to sell in the next year, why are you not in international channels like Europe or Canada or Australia or whatever? Because if that's what they're going to add your business, then why aren't you getting the value of that now?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when you're talking about, think about international markets, for me, I am a champion for that, of not you staying local, on you going global. Mm-hmm. But there's two people here. There is an entrepreneur, that's Kevin. There's an accountant, Melanie. Melanie is the bin counter. She is so much risk averse. It is insane. But you are right. Use that experience that you've gained out in the US, plug it in all the other countries where you think that you could benefit. UK and Canada, and I think they are a great example. Do you know how much Canada has grown during COVID? Seriously, the sales that are coming through Canada from my clients, they are off the roof. So there's been a huge growth, and I wouldn't be surprised if Australia is doing the same, which I would say pre-COVID, it was known as Amazon in 1995. That's what it was referred to. But I can tell you now, I've got some clients that have had tremendous success on Australia than they have here in the UK as well. So I would turn around and say, if you were me as a seller that has got the knowledge, that has got the enthusiasm of going global, I would say follow Amazon. Follow wherever Amazon go, you need to follow Amazon.
Yes, I agree. My only pushback on that one is Amazon, if they're calling you, oftentimes it's because they're trying to set something up. So do Amazon.com first, do your local, if you're in Canada or you're in the UK, it just makes sense to do those next. But then do the established marketplaces, then start going into some of the more shiny new object ones. But I agree with you. Like, at a certain point, it's time to start looking at some of these new ones. If Amazon's calling you, at least listen to them, but do the established ones first and then keep going. But the thing of it is, Amazon keeps adding new marketplaces. It's almost even hard to keep up with them all.
Yeah, definitely. I think in Europe, we're going to see about 2-3 marketplaces coming up as well. Can't say the names, the countries, but there will be another 2 coming at least before end of the year. So I would say it is exciting. Especially you look at Germany. The sellers would turn around and the stats would show that Germany is very big from Amazon, but don't forget that you've got Austria the Austrians, they buy on the German platform. So when the Austrian market is opened, so you're going to see the changes in German sales. But look at the UK individually. The UK in Europe. It's got the highest rate of online penetration, especially for e-commerce or online shoppers. UK will always be one of the best in Europe. Why? Because we believe in online. It might not be in particular on Amazon, but if you compare online sales for the UK as opposed to Europe, we are leaders on online shopping.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, and the key aspect for the UK is that we do not only buy a lot, we also have the pound, which is the strongest currency in Europe. And the things that I think more and more age groups as well have been added, especially because after COVID, age groups like, as we said, the silver surfers, they are the ones who are actually joining the club of buying online. It would be, I would say, unrealistic a few years ago to even consider that section of the market and of the society would be able to actually be that much active. But it is great, especially because of what happened with COVID, which is an unfortunate thing to happen worldwide. But for me, what I believe is that from every crisis, there is an opportunity. Through crisis, always change comes. Change is not a nice word. It doesn't have nice connotation, even from an etymological point of view. But I would say that the modifications that happened after COVID, especially in the e-commerce sector, I think they are really encouraging. As I think the sector is growing by at least, I think double. More than normally across the world, e-commerce as a sector grows by at least 15% every single year. And I think we're going to be hitting up to 25 this year, even 30, which is, it's the fastest growing sector in the markets across the world. So if you are not present online, maybe that's why companies like us, we're seeing Debenhams in the UK, they went into administration last year. An expensive accessories and home products brand like Laura Ashley, they went into administration, which it was a massive shock for everybody in the UK. So it was an element whereby these, long-standing firms, they did not manage to pivot, and they did not pivot fast as well to capture that change that is happening. I think maybe COVID was more or less like the tip of the iceberg that actually took place, and it made that turn for them.
Well, kind of on that note, there's a lot of reasons to be expanding throughout the world. So if somebody wanted to expand into the UK or Europe, where would they go to contact you guys?
Yes, they can reach out to us they can reach out straight to me or Angelos. It's Melanie at avaskgroup.com or www.avaskgroup.com. That's our website. We've got also the expanders that is there, whereby people can actually learn more, especially if they are looking to start out in the journey. But also, let me just say, especially to sellers that are located in the West, is that, if you do your research, the Chinese sellers in this space, they are new, especially in the European and US markets. But they've overtaken Amazon. They're about 60% of them in this space right now of the total of Amazon sellers. So, why is that? Is because in China, they I would say they are fast in the way they do things. They act swiftly. They don't overthink, because as we understand, overthinking only brings sadness. You see all the negative stuff, isn't it? The moment you start thinking things, how am I going to start selling online, and all that stuff comes in. So I would turn around and say, my hope is to see, especially UK, American, Canadian sellers, to really the number increasing than what we are seeing at the moment. And I think there's too many people that are pushing back, especially on expansion. Whereas if you look at China, they are very, very agile. They will launch in America, they will launch in Europe. And of course, it's because they've got the resources. But I would say, let's stop overthinking and get on and just get business done.
I love it. It's all about pushing forward. So this is a great conversation. I appreciate both of you coming on and sharing your story and some good nuggets of wisdom for our listeners here.
Thank you, Kevin, for having us. Really lovely to chat. Thank you.
Thanks so much.